Welcome to the Heal Your Hunger Show, where we get to the heart of why you overeat and how to stop. If you struggle with food and weight like I did, welcome home. Hey everybody, welcome to the Heal Your Hunger Show. So happy to be here with you. It is a great day to be alive. And oh my gosh, you are going to love my guest today because we're talking about really safe and simple ways to get moving, especially if you are in midlife and you're like feeling a little creaky, a little unmotivated. This is going to be the show for you. So before I jump in with my awesome guest, I want to just say, hey, you can actually join the party in the Secret Sauce group. The Secret Sauce is a Facebook group where we support you and have community around those who are looking to overcome emotional eating. If you're starting to clue into the fact that you might be an emotional eater, if you go to that group on Facebook, the Secret Sauce to End Emotional Eating, you'll be with other people who are on the same path of, hey, let's get off the diet track and let's start addressing the underlying causes. So we'd love to support you there. I have shows in there all the time. We have good conversations and polls, and you're the first to hear about new things I'm doing and free classes. So definitely make sure that you join us there. And if you are wondering if you're an emotional eater, do you know that I have a quiz that makes it super easy to find out? Emotional eating is something that you might not have realized is your problem. So you can find out if you're an emotional eater, or in fact, where you are on the emotional eating spectrum. In fact, you might even be a food addict. Okay, these are words. We don't put too much weight into the words, but it's important to know where you are on the spectrum of disordered eating. So you can take the free quiz. It's 2 minutes to take, and you can find it at healyourhunger.com. So definitely take the quiz, find out your score, your personalized score, and then the steps you need to take moving forward, depending on your score. The other thing I just want to say is the Quit Sugar Challenge is coming up so fast. And if you've never taken the Quit Sugar Challenge, or if you have, join us for another round if you've taken it before, to clean things up. But if you never have, it is a fun 5 days. 5 days. That's it. 5 days. And you can start feeling more energy. You can lose 2 to 4 pounds. You can reduce inflammation in your body. So many women report that they no longer feel creaky. They're no longer, their joints aren't hurting anymore. They don't have brain fog. It's amazing what can happen in 5 days. So if you want to start feeling better right away and really get a kickstart to clean eating, join us by going to quitsugarchallenge.com. Join us there. It's super inexpensive. Upgrade to VIP if you can, because it's not a ton more, but you get so much additional support when you're upgrading to VIP. So join us there. We'd love to have you. Quitsugarchallenge.com. Okay, on with the show. My guest, Debra Atkinson, is an exercise fitness extraordinary. She's extraordinary, but she's a fitness extraordinaire. She is beautiful, okay, and strong. She's older. She's above 50. Her business is called flipping50.com, and she has a beautiful podcast that I have just guested on. We frequent each other's podcasts because we're both serving, women who have been around the block a few times in their weight loss struggles. So she has a podcast called Flipping 50 as well. But I just love her because she's got a really sincere heart, and she is so all about helping women above 50 do exercise that's super supportive to their bodies so they don't injure themselves, so they don't go crazy, all or nothing. We tend to, as emotional eaters, we tend to be a little black and white. Like, I'm going to be on the couch, here I am going on week 7 on the couch, and then boom, I'm going to clean things up. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to work out. I'm like this super crazy workout person. It's not about that. Okay. It's not about that. It's about learning how to just start getting the wheels turning, strengthening your body, doing things that are sane and healthy and moderate, so you don't go crazy and injure yourself. but start to really build strength in your body. So she's just so lovely, and I think you're going to love her. So let's tune in to how you can increase your motivation and your endurance and just how you feel about your body overall. This is Debra Atkinson. So Miss Debra, thank you for being here. It's such an awesome thing to be able to connect with you and to let people know about your work. I really do love your work around, really positive, healthy, self-caring exercise, especially for women over 50.
Well, thank you for having me. I adore you too. I think we're such great partners, actually.
Yes, yeah,
Yep.
absolutely. So, the pandemic's been a funky thing for people in exercise, right? It's just been hard to get out of the house, and we're just coming off a winter, like a second winter from the pandemic. And, I know it's hard for people, especially emotional eaters. It's hard to get moving. And I'm not a big exerciser myself. Like I'm not a like workout person, but I like to exercise. So I really want to dig into how people can kind of start getting the wheels turning on moving their bodies more without feeling like they have to, look super cute and show up at the gym and work out per se. Like, is there a more gentle way to approach exercise?
There for sure is. And I think I want to comment on what you said about, I'm not a real, hardcore. I think probably that works best for the majority of us. I think that there's this sweet spot in the middle, not to talk about sugar with you, because I know that's taboo, but
oh no, we talk a lot about it. We just don't eat it.
You don't want to be doing too little, and you don't want to be doing too much. It is finding your sweet spot. And I think that's the key to your sweet spot.
Yeah.
And yours is not the same as anybody else's, and it might change. So there definitely is. And I think that's the place to start, is just building a foundation. And it is just beginning. I think one of the things that you promote is walking,
Yes.
your walk, pray ritual. And for a lot of people, one of the big benefits of the pandemic, I remember that first April and May, people would just be like walking. And I think everybody was craving like human interaction, like waiting across the street was a big deal.
Yeah, so true.
Yeah. And I think that fell off, I think the novelty maybe fell off, and people didn't do it, or they began to find other means of exercising. But we did see a huge surge of walking, and I think that was a huge win for a lot of people, just to get out and do more of it. There was actually a lot of studies that just did very informal polls looking at what was the level. And ironically, it was, those gym goers who are hardcore, who are, the gym opens at 5 and they're there at 4:45. Right. And if you're not there with the key, I have been that person, by the way. If you're not there with the key at putting it in, at 4:59, you're in trouble.
Right.
Those people actually started exercising less.
Because they didn't have their gym. They were dependent on the gym.
They were. And potentially that was probably good for them. Just not comfortable, but probably better. And those people who were very inactive actually began to exercise more, moved more, because other people around them were. Yeah. What we found is the people who were most just regular and moderately active actually exercised less. They're the people who fell off. And it was because of overwhelm, I think, and what we don't know is like life situation. Like, were those the moms whose kids came home from college and now they've got 3 generations or more in one house, and it was chaos for a lot of people. Yeah. And that was a challenge. So I think it is starting slow with what you enjoy. So let's do that, right? Not a quota about, I'm going to talk strength training. We'll bring it back to that, I promise you. But, is that where you start? I don't know. I think that first we need to get moving. We need to do the basics and more circulation. And it's not just for your body. And it's not just about changing the body you're in. It's about benefiting the body and the energy you have, and about supporting your brain and your memory and your stress level, remembering and honoring there are lots of reasons to exercise, not just to burn calories.
Ooh, I love that you just went there. That is so awesome, because that's true for me. When I do my walk pray, which is, walking around the block a couple times, it's not rigorous, but I do like to be quiet. I like to be in prayer. I pray better, when I'm moving. It sort of connects me and gets a rhythm going, so I don't wander off on some other topic. But I love the gentleness of walking, because it is gentle and you get to see things, you see people, you pass people, and it is kind of social in that way. Just neighbors. But I also love that it gets me out in nature and out of the house. So important, off my tush, in front of Zoom.
Right.
But like you said, it's not just physical, it's also mental and emotional as well. It's a release, and it clears the cobwebs. It just sort of, it resets your state. And I love that about it. And it doesn't take much.
It doesn't take much. Do you know that the brain chemistry changes within seconds of starting exercise? Literally seconds. Yep. And so there are more and more studies, but ironically, in fact, not a lot of psychologists, even, or counselors know about this, but strength training is very supportive of anxiety. And I think more of us are dealing with anxiety and dealing with feelings of depression in the pandemic. And I think we're probably going to go back and forth between those feelings for a little while, because whether we have enjoyed being at home, not having to go out, or now we are going out, and that's bringing a feeling that we never had about it before to us. So dealing with anxiety, and part of the reason I think it's more strength training than anything more heavily cardiovascular that's making you breathe hard. Walking is probably also very good. I don't know why the emergence of strength training for anxiety spawned what started that, but I think more than any cardiovascular exercise, because it's more comfortable. You don't have to get out of breath. You're not having to move fast. You may actually sweat when you're strength training. I wouldn't say you won't necessarily, but you don't start sweating. I mean, it is kind of an aftermath to it. And so it's much more comfortable. And for people who have been inactive for a while, I think it's easier to feel successful more quickly strength training than in doing some high intensity intervals that just make you feel fish out of water.
I love that. That's so interesting. And that has actually been my experience. I do it towards the end of the day, like around 5:30. And I find if I do strength training for around like 45 minutes or so, I'm amazed at how it relaxes me, like I just sort of sort out the day and my thoughts of the day. And maybe it is because it's not so hard that you're like, I hate this so much. That's what goes through my head. If I'm doing something really hard, my head is really noisy, but maybe it's gentle enough that you don't get distracted by the hardness of it, in which case you can kind of I just feel like I'm releasing stress when I do it.
I'm diving into a lot of motivation to exercise right now. And, what keeps emerging is that self-selected exercise is really one of the keys. If you're not exercising yet, you've been having a hard time getting started, self-selection, and whether that's self-selection of the weights you're going to use, or it's self-selection of the speed you're going to walk, or the route that you go, whether it's hilly or not hilly, or you're pushing incline or not pushing incline if you're on a treadmill, as long as you choose it so that it's your choice, whether you choose to go a little bit more, a little bit less, that has a lot to do with successful rates of staying stuck to it, sticking to it along the way. Yeah. So it's all about finding that place and that point, and realizing that universally, I have to do a little shout out to Iowa State University, which is my alma mater 2 times,
You.
and taught there for 15 years. But Dr. Patty Ekikakis, a very Greek name, right? Has done some studies on motivation to exercise, exercise adherence, and specifically in looking with those who are overweight, qualified as obese, and found that it's not just them, but specifically more so them. If when intensities get higher, they tend to just bail because it is not comfortable, and they don't have, and this is true for us in midlife, we don't have the same pleasure point in our brain. We don't have that same like exercise high, if you will, that we might have when we were younger. So whether you're never been an exercise lover, or even if you've always been, you may still not get the same fix, the same hit that someone else does. And that has to do with hormonal changes that affect the brain. So universally, though, the higher the intensity, the more of us have a negative connotation with it.
Wow, that's incredible. How interesting. And you are the one. I mean, you did the TED Talk on your exercise and your hormones at midlife.
Yes. Yes.
Congrats on all the views you've gotten lately.
Thank you. And it was, it was me first, right? Study of one. And isn't that always how it starts? But realizing I'm doing so much less than I was, although some of it was intense, much of it was much less intense, lower intensity than I'd been doing for decades. And it worked. And then I looked at, okay, what are the statistics talking about? And of course, the truth is 39% of all exercise and sports medicine science features females. And that may not sound like a low number, really, relative to some other statistics. We all know women have done worse, right, than 40%. But when you look at, we've got at least 7 different hormonal phases that we go through in a lifetime. And not every woman goes through every single one, yet some women go through them multiple times, right? So on the average, we'll go through about 7 hormonal changes. And if you divide that 39% of us up by 7, now what percent of research caters to you or me right now in the moment we're in?
Right.
Less than about 6%.
Oh
if it were
gosh.
evenly distributed. And we know that's probably not true, but that means that if we didn't know to ask, is this program or the exercise I'm selecting based on women like me? Potentially it was not. And I know that firsthand from 7 years ago. I would not have known. I trained a staff of 24 trainers. I didn't know to tell them we need to be going through the science and making sure we're not just giving them guidelines and position statements and doing safe exercises with them, but that it's programmed about their frequency, their needs. I know I taught at a university for 15 years. Nowhere, never, ever did we teach about hormonal changes in menopause and how that affects the exercise prescription. There just isn't time. Even now that we know better, there isn't time if you want to get a student out in 4 years to cover it all.
That's so incredible. It's such a missing piece. That's crazy. That's why I love your work so much, is it caters to over 50, like exercise that's good for your body and your hormonal changes. I love it. Can we just define strength training for those who don't actually know what that means, and no worries Absolutely. If they don't?
Yeah. So, and then if we call it a bigger thing, if we say this, so resistance training. Okay. And under resistance training goes just everything. So that would qualify as you're picking up some kind of weight or working against resistance on purpose and intentionally for the purpose of gaining muscle strength or muscle endurance or muscle mass. And that could be body weight. You could be doing push-ups. You could be doing just your body standing up and doing squats. You could be doing suspension training. So many of you watching will be familiar with TRX. And that's not T-Rex like the dinosaur, by the way.
I remember that.
let that one go if you don't know what that is. That could be somebody is going to ask, is that Pilates? And I would suggest that it's not so much, because there's not enough overload. Pilates is, and I don't discriminate. I'm a Pilates instructor and I value it for a specific purpose, but it's not quite enough to have the gains in strength and stamina that true strength training does. That could be machine weights, could be picking up dumbbells, it could be picking up the water bottles full of sand or water that are resistance for you. So a lot of different ways that you could apply it. But the purpose, again, is working and focusing on your musculoskeletal system, your muscles. And when you do that, you're also supporting your bone if you do it properly.
Cool. Thank you for that. That's really cool. And is this the bulk of the kind of work you do with people online, is resistance or strength training?
It is definitely strength training. So we talk about doing the other things as well, but I find you don't need me to tell you how to go walk around the block, right? You may need me to tell you, here's the frequency or the duration that would be a good place to start, or here's how to progress without getting hurt, and what shoes you might need to pick. But you probably need a little bit more support when it comes to, if I'm going to do a chest press, or if I'm going to do a bent over row or a squat, how do I make sure that doesn't hurt my knees or my shoulders? And how do I make sure that it does help the muscles without the risk to those things? So that's where we have the most benefit to gain. And at menopause, and definitely after 50, a girl's best friend, and a guy's too, but a girl's more so, best friend is strength training when it comes to exercise. There's nothing that is going to support your aging positively more than strength training is. Nothing that is going to have the potential to reverse your biological clock. So get a grip on this. This is a statement that's true. There are 179 genes that can be reversed. They affect your rate of aging, and they can be reversed after 2 times a week strength training for 6 months.
Wow. That is super hopeful. I love it. And what's also hopeful, I know a lot of people are listening, but I'm doing this in video too, is that Debra looks like she's 45, but she isn't.
But she isn't, right? That birthday card's in the mail, right? Yeah.
Nope, she's amazing. She really is. So you do not look your age, girl. So okay, cool. So where does the cardio fit in? How do we make sure we get that?
Well, we make sure we get it only if we need it, really. And here's the truth. So what we've been hearing since we were young adults, right? Young adults of the 80s doing all that cardio, most likely. Or if we weren't doing it, we were thinking we should be doing it because the other people were doing it, right?
Right. Yeah, yeah.
And here's the truth, that moderate kind of exercise that we've all thought is still a thing. And I will tell you, during our lifetime, we're still going to hear that as advice. We're going to hear moderate exercise because it's been passed on from one generation of physicians to the next generation of physicians. And we have to bring up the fact that your physician, love them, right? We need them. However, they've had this much nutrition, and they've probably had less exercise in their whole, residency. They've focused on what they're really good at, and probably they want to partner with someone who's really good at exercise to help them with what their patients need. But we need cardiovascular exercise. Yes, to some extent, we get some cardiovascular benefit from strength training. So you're not getting it. But if you are going to do something, we don't want that moderate exercise. What we really want is lows, like going for that walk, to decrease the stress level more than to do anything else. But no fitness is built without a foundation. So we start there. I remember I interviewed Frank Shorter. Do you know who that is, Tricia?
I don't.
Okay. So, well, and we're in that era where you could know those who know sport just a little bit, Frank Shorter won the Munich Marathon when that was the first year, and he was a US athlete. So he lived in Boulder. So when I moved to Boulder, I saw Frank every day at the club, and the nicest guy, the most intelligent guy. But when I sat down with him, he just said, you know, people think all the time that I used to go out and I used to sprint all the time, or, you know, and he said, no, I used to go really super slow. It was just building this base, and you can't get faster without a base, but you also can't get stronger without a base. So it is just starting there. And so, I mean, we're hearing that from world athletes, right? World-class athletes. It's true of us as well. So that, and the highs. So here's the thing, what will happen when we age? And we've always believed, until about the last 8 years, science also believed that these things naturally occur as we age, and our mitochondria production decreases. And that is what causes us to get out of breath if we walk upstairs when we're older, but not when we're 30, right?
Yeah.
And yet we know we can reverse that mitochondrial damage, and we can rejuvenate them to the same extent that we can feel and look like a 20-year-old as far as our mitochondria go, with different lifestyle habits, and one of those being exercise. But it takes some high intensity exercise. So this is where the interval training does come in. So, but we're also talking about minutes when we talk interval training, getting breathless for 30 seconds at a time, recovering again, and maybe doing that 4 or 5 times, 2 or 3 times a week, and you're done. That's all it takes. It's after you come back from a walk 1 or 2 days a week, you move quickly for a couple minutes and you're done. You've checked that box. But getting breathless can really help us recover some of that mitochondrial production and rejuvenate what we need in fast twitch muscle fiber. And we lose that. So if you watch your older adult parents or grandparents, you know, get rounded over and trip and fall, or be at risk for falling, and we all look like we're going closer to the ground as we age, right?
Yeah.
Or they have. We don't have to if we're much more aware of our posture, but we also have to move a little quicker to stimulate fast twitch muscle fiber. That's our reaction skills, you know. And we talk about sitting in Zoom. I mean, how many of us are moving laterally, or playing hopscotch, or, you know, playing catch with a ball? You know, if you don't have a dog, you don't have kids that you're doing those things with regularly, you want to work on ways to fit in some pickleball, fit in some badminton, you know, go to the nursing home and play balloon volleyball with them, right? Those little things really help with reaction skills, and we need those until we don't. Getting your foot from the gas to the brake, or vice versa, right? When you need it, relies on those things. Or catching yourself on the curb with a toe or under a rug and righting yourself instead of going down. That's reaction skills. And we don't get that unless we work it.
Okay. Oh, this is so fascinating. Thank you for sharing all this. And I'm excited. I did just start playing a little bit, only occasionally, but I tend to step it up as the weather gets nicer. But my boyfriend plays ultimate frisbee. And for a year, I'm like, that's nice, honey, have fun. And now, but he plays on the beach, you know, and he's in his 50s. So he wants to be careful, and he likes the beach because it doesn't hurt when you fall, and it doesn't hurt your knees. And I went out with him and I played, and I wasn't terrible. I was not good. I got a long ways to go. And I can catch better than a guy can throw. But everybody was so nice. But it's, you're running on the beach, and it was totally, I was panting, but I do feel like this can really benefit my body so much. If I'm, again, on the beach, it makes it much safer, but I have to work my way into it for sure.
That is great. It's exciting. I love it. your reaction to not only to the beach and the surface, because it's a changing surface, but to the object. That's great.
Yep. I'm hoping it keeps me sharp and smart and healthy. So, well, this is super awesome. And you have a cool way for people to start working with you, getting to know what you do. Can you talk about Stronger coming up?
Absolutely. So yes, love this program. And, we've really worked it around those people who need a start or a restart. So it's by choosing weights, you have lots of options. Should I go lighter and do more reps? Should I go heavier and do fewer reps? Can I be somewhere in the middle? And the answer is yes to all of those. But no matter where you are starting out, we all want to start with a lighter weight, with more repetitions to prepare not just the muscle, but the joints and the ligaments, because they sometimes need a little bit longer to catch up and to lay that foundation we talked about with Frank Shorter, your joints and that connective tissue. If we take our time setting the right weight and getting the pattern here and getting this strong, then you're ready to do more when and if you're ready. Some of us won't be. We may have old injuries. We may have conditions. Maybe you've got arthritis, and lighter weight and more repetitions may be your sweet spot. That may be where you are, but you will be ready for progressing. And I will also say this, if you're somebody who has lifted weights, you're experienced, and yet what you're doing right now is not working, you're in my corner. So I've lifted weights for years, but every once in a while I find that I'm doing the same thing and that thing is not working to give me any progress anymore. So I will come back and do this program, and I am an 8-time Ironman. So I'm not afraid of exercise or hard work, but lightweight and more repetitions sometimes is the key to wiggling off that plateau and changing the game up a little bit. Athletes do this all the time. We call it periodization, periods of time when we go a little bit lighter and we have a specific purpose. And so we do a 12-week program. We do it on purpose for 12 weeks. Life's going to be messy in 12 weeks. So you've got a program that when you fall off, when you get the interruption, you have the holiday, you have the wedding, you have the sickness, you have the program to come back to. So I like to say you can fall off the bus. You just won't get run over by it because we're right here and there's a start and a stop. So I'm very transparent about this. So I want you to know you're not buying videos when you do this program. You're buying access to the program between two very specific dates so that I can hold you accountable. Because having a lifetime access to anything doesn't help your fitness level. The fitness has to occur in a specific frequency, in a specific amount of time. That's what helps move you forward. And that's my job. So
I love that. Get you going, girl. Otherwise, we just put it off and put it off.
Yeah,
Get
exactly
around to it.
Yeah. And if I've seen anything over 38 years of working with behavior change, it's that my job is not to make it easy for you to think, well, I can do it later. It's my job is to make you feel, nope, let's make the time and pencil it in. If you've penciled it in and it needs to move to tomorrow, that's okay, right? Yeah.
Yeah, a little wiggle room, but let's get it going.
Yes,
exactly. I love that. Okay, well, we have for those of you interested in this program, we have a special link for you. It's healyourhunger.com/flipping50. So is it flipping with a G? I forget. Yes. Flipping 50, the number's 50. So just go to healyourhunger.com/flipping50. And guess what? You can be on your way to having a stronger, healthier, a body that has better endurance. You don't get out of breath so fast, and you just feel and look great. So I love that, Debra. You're so good at being in tune with what women need, and at different stages of their life, and really supporting them in getting moving and moving in a healthy way where it's sustainable. So thank you for the beautiful work that you do, and everybody check that out. Don't keep wishing you could get, fit. Start it going, get going and get the right support so you can actually get fit. It's awesome. So thanks so much, Debra, for being here.
Thank you. And remember that, this quote from a client, I couldn't say it better myself. We often start because we want to change something about our body. We want to see the bicep bump, or we want to see something change about our hips or somewhere else. But I think I start because I wanted to see my body change, but I got my life back. That client quote, it's not the outer strength as much or alone as it is the inner strength and the way you carry yourself into a room, right?
Yeah, it feels so good to feel your inner strength. It feels so empowering. So thank you so much. Great to have you. Congratulations on all you're doing to help so many women get stronger. And I appreciate your coming on the show.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed this podcast and want to get free support, insider health info, exclusive invites to events, and more, visit healyourhunger.com.